like at first I just had the idea. I didn't even care so much if the photos were good, like because I didn't know how to take photos then. I was like, I want to do this. I just want the tag with the photo with the graph writer, because for me it was kind of almost like not investigative journalism, but I really wanted to know who wrote the tags because I didn't know. I thought it was all like like uh like part of like some hip hop thing or something. I didn't know there was all different types of people that wrote graffiti, like from like metal dudes to like skateboarders. Like I didn't know. I genuinely wanted to discover like who wrote. Um, and I had a roommate at the time. I don't remember how we met, but I was living with Pez, who's like at the time was up with tags and stickers probably more than anyone. Like because he was a bike messenger and then he was a food delivery guy. And he wasn't from New York, but he had a lot of like New York writers really liked him. And I think from him, like he introduced me to like several people. And so that book is basically like I'm learning how to take pictures, you know? But I think that kind of naive vibe is what can like do, that's where the magic is. Like once you figure it out too much, something might be lost. But like some of the pictures in there, like, because I'm experimenting with different distances from the subject. Like there's like area and deck where I'm like close in on their faces, and that's how they're kind of obscured. And then some are like this. It was just exciting. I mean, that book was like a 3-year process. And imagine, so I had to meet the writer somewhere, photograph them, get a print made, bring it back to them, have them sign it. I mean, it was cool. I mean, there's definitely things I would do differently now, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, the thing that like once I had a few heavies in there, like other people were like, "Oh yeah, I want to do it." Like I think once Earsnot did it, pretty much everyone was like, "Let's go." The other thing that was really
But
cool.
how did they find out that, like for example, nowadays people would know that Earsnot did it because there's a bunch of, there's a bunch of media, there's a bunch of photos you can see at a moment's notice. You post it, they'll see it. How did they know that? Just by word of mouth?
No, I would tell them who's done it already.
Mm.
So I'd be like, I shot with Earsnot, Sam's, like all that. So there was like a scene around Iraq people, and like you could really see it in the East Village, which is where I was living. And like Etch just started in like 99, and I would just see it and I was like, what is Sacker? You know, like I didn't know anything. Like I really didn't know anything about it. And like it was kind of, that book was also a way for me to like figure out like what was going on. Like I didn't know any of the etiquette stuff of like tag, throw up, fill in, roller. And then the photos were really fun because like writers just bring the swag. Like they care about being photographed, which I didn't even think about. As I was just like, I want to just get a picture of you. You can obscure however you want, you know, your identity, and you can hit it with a tag. I actually didn't really care. But then when I started seeing the writers like thinking about how they wanted to look in the photos, and like the locations were so important, and like I took a picture of Remo that he never signed. But I remember just holding up my camera and he just like went into like this pose, and I was like, this is incredible. Like this is what these guys are like bringing the vibe, you know? Mm-hmm. So, you know, I just got kind of into it. And then I would ask if I did shoot with someone, I'd ask them who else they liked, other writers. The thing is there's a lot of dope ones that didn't happen all the way. So that's for me always the thing where I had like a sick photo of like Pen and Shine, you know, and it like, they didn't feel they were obscured enough. So it didn't go in. And I'm like I really was a fan, you know, there. So, yeah. And then that was like, you know, going for years, like with just a pager, meeting people.
You developed the photos yourself as well in that time period, or
no, I would take them. also simultaneously in that time period, there was kind of interest in like simple point and shoot photography and not doing your own darkroom work. Just like, before that, it was like, oh, you have to have medium format and everything has to be really serious. And then it was like, people started shooting like this. And I was kind of part of that too, because I was like, not so much like the photographer, but I was like doing things with the camera, you know? So yeah, to circle back, Pez started it off and introduced me to Cynic, a bunch of people in the beginning. And then once I had some of those people in there, the others were mostly came pretty easily.
So when you started the project, you really had no idea about like the ins and outs of graph culture or graph etiquette or anything like that. And then just by sheer chance, you ended up, like, it organically happened that all of these heavy people came through, were a part of the project, and then you put together the book in a way that it seems like you knew. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like you knew what the fuck was up. That's what's like shocking to me, that you didn't, and you started the project to put a face to the name and like kind of understand, and you barely knew how to take photos, and then like it looks like it was super planned out, and that you were, heavily knew what you were doing from both sides right away.
Yeah, thanks. I had no idea. And then and then also like I knew about f-stops and shutter speed, which is basically what you need to just line up to get like an image to expose right. But I didn't know anything really beyond that. But yeah, that was like all that whole book was like I was learning about it, and meeting those guys and like just connecting with the city. And then I don't know. I've always just read graph like everywhere I go. I don't know necessarily why, but then I really did feel like a deeper connection, because I was like, I know who did that. Whereas like a lot of people don't consider it, or they think it's ugly, or it's just not part of their day to like look at it, Yeah, well, eventually it was like the publisher was like, let's make a date. Here's the deadline. This is the end. And then I started just shooting more like landscapes, because some people that I wanted to photograph didn't pan out. So I was like, at least I want to put a picture of their fill-in in there, But yeah, I could have kept going. And then it did keep going a little bit, like Sneeze magazine. Mm-hmm. I did several more with them just for fun, like after the fact. But yeah, and then I just kept paying attention after that. So